Hey everybody, and welcome to the Pinkbike podcast. We're trying something new for once and putting this up on YouTube for you to listen to. Maybe while you're at work with the window minimized, but I'm not going to tell anybody. We're going to upload other podcasts as well, so be sure to come back and check those out. Or you can head to pinkbike.com to listen to all the episodes ad-free. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another Pinkbike podcast. I'm Mike Levy, and I have Brian Park with me as well because today we're talking to Rob Roskopp, who co founded Santa Cruz Bicycles back in 1994. That's nearly 30 years ago now. Rob, where in the
Thanks.
world are you? Yeah, sorry.
Almost 60. So yeah, now you're making me really old. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Man. Yeah, well, you've done a lot of crazy shit in that time, though, including co founding Santa Cruz Bicycles, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah, thanks. No, it's been a good ride for sure. I've always said it's always about the journey, and it's been quite the incredible journey. So no complaints here.
Before we get into this, where are you right now and how are you doing?
I'm in a place in Aptos. Below me is where all the devastation has hit in Seacliff Beach. And like we were talking about earlier, Capitola, the pier got kind of split in half, or a big chunk of it was taken out from the storms. And then just down the way here, Seacliff Pier, half of it's gone, and the parking lot is basically decimated. So, it's been a tragic for a lot of people here, and we wish them all the best. And hopefully the weather will back off a bit, but doesn't look like it, at least for the next week.
Yeah, Mother Nature is taking charge right now, it looks like, down there.
Yeah, she's ferocious. She's pissed off.
Yeah. Well, Rob, the reason that we're talking today is because you dropped a bit of a bomb on Instagram on your personal social media account about riding an Uno Myth e-bike that sure made it look like you are not at Santa Cruz anymore. So I just want to jump right into this. Are you at Santa Cruz? What's going on?
So my contract came up at mid-October, and that was pretty much it. We tried to renew it. They weren't interested. For me personally, there's a lot of good people at the company. Obviously, I've got a long relationship with the company. I'm still very tied in with the skateboards part of it because my partner, Rich Novak, he's the owner of that. And 30, what are we at? 35, almost 40 years later, or 35 years since I stopped skating, I still get royalties from all the skateboards they sell. So that's pretty cool. And we tried to present that when we were negotiating, and they didn't see anything to it apparently. And I don't think they get it, basically. So wipe my hands and move on to the next thing. I've always been that way. It's about moving to what I want to do and what I'm passionate about. So from skateboarding, I went to the bikes. We did all the Santa Cruz bike company, and did a lot of fun, great things, put a great team of people together, and it was incredible journey. So no complaints there.
Let's do that. Let's jump back to that sort of the start of Santa Cruz Bicycles, and even before with the skate company. Just for the folks that are listening that maybe don't know the origin story, can you give a quick sort of Cole's notes of how we got here?
I came out here in '82 from Cincinnati. I went to high school there. I was born in Detroit, Michigan. Within 3 months, I turned professional skating, and then basically did that, toured the world, competed a little bit, but found it was more for me about lifestyle and having a good time. And the way we promoted ourselves was doing demos all over the world, and that's what I found for me personally the most fulfilling. And skating with other kids that all over the world, that and introducing skateboarding to kids that had just gotten into it. So did that up until about 91. Went back to work at Santa Cruz Skateboards. I managed a division of Sim Skateboards for a little bit, and at that time I'd fell in love with mountain biking. I started racing. So I started riding mountain bikes around 87, and then started racing around 90. So Novak asked me one day, I got him into riding too, which was pretty cool. Because at that time, I think he was about late 40s, and got him to compete a little bit. And yeah, so he brought it up one day. What do you think about doing bikes? And I'm like, yeah, okay, let me do some research. Did that, and got together with Mike Marquez and a friend of mine, and he went on to work at Rock Shocks and Fox, and now he's got his own company. So that's been really cool to do that, and built the Santa Cruz, did the Tasman, and then over the years introduced all these different models, put together the Syndicate race team, and kind of the rest is history.
The Tasman was the first model, yeah?
Yes, it was.
Yeah. When did this sort of focus on downhill racing and the Syndicate come about? That was later.
Yeah, so we sponsored a number of athletes, across country, downhill, over the years, but we didn't have the budget to, field a World Cup team. And our first big sponsorship was the Lunatics team in 2001, I think it was. And we did that for 4 years. And as the business grew, then we had the money. Well, downhill and kind of was declining a bit, just the sport for a period. And that was kind of the opportunity I saw to jump in and build out the team. And at that point, I wanted to, I didn't want to do anything half-ass. I wanted to bring the best guys in. And with Darren Stockton, he was doing the Intense Santa Cruz team, and I got him to manage it in the beginning. And we brought on Nathan Rennie and kind of built that out, Johnny Waddell. And then in 2006, we brought on Steve Pete and Kathy Sessler. Kathy was helping us in the beginning a little bit, but then when Darren decided to go some different path, I brought Kathy on as team manager full time. Brought on Petey, Rennie was there, and then Mark Hendershot, Jamie Goldman, Johnny Waddell had that big accident at Mount St. Anne in 2000. Shit, what was that? 3, I think it was. And then we've always supported him for the last almost 20 years now. And he's more of an endurance rider and enduro. He's doing a bunch of enduros now too. Yeah. So then brought on Greg, and we built the Syndicate to what really was an extension of our family. All my kids grew up traveling to all the World Cups. It was a fun ride for sure.
How did Greg pop up on your radar?
I think it was Worlds at Fort William in 2007, and he finished 4th, crashing and with a broken scapula. And I'm like, if the guy can fucking finish 4th with a broken scapula, he's a winner.
Can't believe you just gloss over the history of the superheroes like that, Rob. Come on.
Oh, not okay. Well, you were talking about the Syndicate. Jesus. No, all the superheroes. That was fun too. I mean, that was late 90s, basically. Say again?
Randy Spangler.
Oh yeah, Spangler. Yeah, for sure. All those guys. I mean, yeah, that was a cool time too. It's not that I don't remember. We were focused on one. I'm going all over the place, so I'm doing my best.
I was just gonna jump forward to 2015. Like, there's a lot that happens between the Syndicate and when Pond shows up. But how did Pond show up?
I think it was around 12. We had just moved into the new building where we're at now. Their former CEO just cold called me and said, "Hey, I'm in town. I'd love to come by and meet you." And he came by, and we kind of had a nice conversation. He was telling me what they were planning to do. And at that time, they had bought Cervelo and Derby, I think, and Gazelle, I think they had already owned too. So those were the 3 brands that I'm aware of at that point. But he shortly after he left, around 2014 or end of 2013, we decided for Novak and I, it was going to be a huge investment to expand our distribution in Europe. We didn't really want to put out the money, and I was getting to a point where personally my kids, they didn't really they were teenagers, but there wasn't really any interest for any of them to carry on a legacy, and I'm not going to push it down their throats because I want them to go out and be themselves. So we decided to put a book together and sell, and we did that. And then I think it was the end of 2014. We just finished it. And I kept that relationship with Pond, and I just gave him a call and I said, "Hey, we're looking at doing this. We'll give you the first right of refusal." And they were all about it, and we made a deal and sold the company at was it beginning of July in 2015.
It all sounds like pretty straightforward and I don't know, like it makes sense. But I want to ask you, like, from your perspective, you created this thing, Rob, and it's obviously like it's one of the best known brands in the history of mountain biking. You and your team made this thing. You co-founded it.
Yep.
Was
Thank
it
you.
hard to let go of that? There's got to be some like difficulty letting go of that a bit, you know?
Yeah, it's your baby, but it was like when skating, when it's like I got into the next thing, I always look forward. I just go on to the next thing. I don't look back. I always look forward.
There's the trope of founders struggling after a sale, and I think maybe people assumed that you and some of the other OGs would, after the sale, take a quiet exit sooner than later. But then, A, you stuck around for another 8 years, and B, this isn't a quiet exit when the exit did come.
Well, so there was nothing done on their part, which seemed odd, right? No announcement, nothing. And then what I did with that yesterday was it wasn't about that. It's really about because I haven't posted anything in over almost 2 years. I think I'm not really big into the social media thing, to be honest. So
Mhm.
I just really like what Cesar was doing at Uno. We've been talking a bit back and forth over the last 8 months or so, and I got a lot of time on the bike. I've ridden a bunch of other e-bikes out there, not all of them, obviously, but the ones I've ridden, the thing that impresses me a
Mhm.
lot. So yeah,
This is all sort of an elaborate angle to become Pinkbike's e-bike tester, right? So it's like an elaborate
yeah,
thing.
you caught me. Yeah, you got me. That's it. No,
Perfect.
but for me, that's what brings enjoyment
Mhm.
back a bit to riding my bike is I can do it more and I can descend a lot more. So I have a great time. It's just a lot of fun.
So yeah, I mean, you mentioned that there were some frustrations with, in the lead up to not renewing your contract, where things weren't being listened to or things weren't going the direction you wanted. Like, what were you pushing that sort of fell on deaf ears, or what were you hoping to get done?
It's just there's a number of things. I don't really want to get into that. It's other than basically I felt I was wasting my time, wasting my breath. And if it falls on deaf ears, so be it. That's their issue. That's their problem. There were some really cool things that could have been, but no one followed up on them even after, I after 3 times trying to present something, get it going, and it just falls on deaf ears. Fuck it. Move on.
Rob, it sounds very much like you still have things that you want to make. Sounds like you have plans.
Yeah, I'm working on some shit. My wife's got me really busy. We've taken on this project, the Breakers FC Soccer Academy. All of our kids played club soccer from like 5 until through high school, and along with a friend from Montenegro, he's an ex footballer. He played for Bordeaux professionally. He played in the World Cup and everything. He's the director of the club, and we're bought a 20-acre parcel for the club just between Monterey and well, just really just south of Watsonville. So we're trying to build a stadium, get that going, and dorms, and really just build up this club and hopefully become a member of the MLS Next Pro, which is a new level. It's kind of their you got MLS and then you got MLS Next. It's kind of like farm team kind of thing.
Mhm.
So we're trying to get that going, and that's a huge project in itself, massive. As far as bike related things, yeah, there's a few projects I'm working on. I
Yeah.
can't say anything at this point, but if we get what we need to get done in the next few months, it'll be a few years, or it should be a little less than that before it would come out. But it's a game changer. I'll leave it at that.
From your post, people are assuming that you have maybe some sort of tie-in with Uno. Can you clarify?
Oh yeah, no, I just respect what Cesar's building and what he's doing. I think it's the best looking bike on the market. it's a piece of art. But better yet, it rides incredibly well. That's, you know, it's always about the ride and how well it is. It's a great product.
Does look quite sick. So before we
Very.
try and find other ways to get you to like divulge what's next, let's
Yeah,
maybe
that
jump,
ain't gonna happen.
let's maybe jump back.
No,
Let's talk about
patents are involved, and not until that's
we're relentless. But what are you
I know.
thinking back to Santa Cruz and your time?
Yeah.
Like, what are some of the things you're most proud of?
As far as the bicycles,
Everything.
everything,
Yeah.
skateboards, just the whole graphic series. We were the first guys to do a series of graphics. So I had the bullseye with an arm coming out, then more of the creature came out. No one had done that ever in skateboarding. So graphic wise, yeah, that's probably the biggest thing for skateboarding. That
Mhm.
I think I mean, not to toot my own horn, but I probably sold more skateboards than any other person in the world, or close to it. Top two, top three, even
Wow.
more than Tony Hawk, because they've been selling these reissues for 35 years.
Wild.
Yeah, so that I'm really proud of that.
Fair. And on the bike side?
Bike side, a number of things. The Syndicate, just the accomplishments the Syndicate did, and the attitude we brought. I think that was fun. Memories that, you know, like like I said, my kids growing up with the riders. You know, they saw a lot of shit, a lot of crazy shit. But in a way, I thought it was really a good life lesson of what to do and what not to do. There was a lot of what not to do.
Oh man. And what about on the flip side? What are there like key moments in Santa Cruz history that you think you made a mistake or predicted something incorrectly, or
Oh
moments
yeah,
where
yeah. I mean, you only learn from your mistakes, right? So shit.
that's why Levy doesn't learn anything? No mistakes.
The Swobo thing, when we did that, that failed. That was probably the first, you know, sizable failure when we did that. That was, and everything is about timing. We were there time wise. We were there in the beginning, but then everybody knocked it off and got into it and jumped on the bandwagon, and we didn't move fast enough there. And that, unfortunately, we licensed it to somebody else, and then it basically just disappeared, unfortunately. Sky Yeager, who was the bike designer, and Tim Parr, they're good people, and it just didn't work out, unfortunately. That was probably a failure that I learned a lot from. But I think moving forward, if you're not failing at something, you're not learning anything. And if you don't pay attention, you yeah, I mean, you don't move forward, I don't think. You have to fail to succeed, period.
So what would you, in terms of failing and succeeding, the industry today is in a super weird place. I'd be really curious to hear your predictions, sort of both short term 2023 stuff and maybe some 10 years down the road, like where are things going?
This year will be a glut of inventory. And the last, what do you call it, 2.5 years was, uh, no one could have predicted what COVID brought to the sporting industry in general. I
Mhm.
mean, if you were an idiot if you failed in the last 2 years, if
Mhm.
you weren't making a lot of money, you shouldn't be in the business you're in the sporting area, because everybody was killing it, because everybody wanted to get outside, because they were, you know, depending on what country you're in, you were limited to doing certain things, and that was an escape, you know, get on your bike, go out and ride, go run, whatever it may, mountain climb, whatever, just get outdoors, because everyone was, you know, relegated to kind of being indoors and wearing the mask. So I think this is going to be, now there was lead times 18 months
Yeah.
for certain products, right? And then, you know, you had the shipping issue where container ships were sitting out waiting to unload for months at a time. We're going to see all that take effect, I think, this year, probably through next couple of years, to be honest. You know, down the road, as far as suspension, a lot of bike company, there's a lot of really good bikes out there now. Everybody's kind of coming to common ground. So I think to be honest, your guys' job is really hard to, I mean, you're picking apart little pieces here and there, and it's not easy for sure. I think electronics are, obviously they starting to play a bigger role, and they'll continue to play an even greater role in the bikes.
One place where things could jump forward a lot is e-bikes. Like right now, a lot of those e-bikes are pretty rough and like cables everywhere and rattly and stuff like that. And
I saw
Yeah.
Kaz a few days ago, and he has an e-bike where the battery door is just this absolute floppy. It's out the side, and it's the floppiest battery door ever. I like it. It just shovels loam and water directly into the motor and battery. It's crazy, and
Yeah.
just like these products aren't very well resolved yet.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're hugely ahead of where they were 5 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, 5 years
Yeah.
ago, or not 5, what are we at now? So 2016, 15, 16, I was like, no, we're never going to make one. And then as the motors got better, I will say this thing, the biggest one of the biggest advantages to e-bikes, other than, being able to go on longer rides, go further, all that, I think the weight of the bikes actually helps improve the performance of the suspension. Got more traction. The suspension's working better, I believe. That's my personal opinion. And I don't think you want to go too much lighter. I mean, there's this big push now with the lighter bikes. I want a battery that, 750, whatever. The weight doesn't, 45 pounds, 48, 50. I think it's going to settle around 40, low 40s for something that you can go, more than you can put up with, like 5-6 hour ride. And the battery technology that's coming out in the next few years, I think will offer that. It'll be half the weight and but be able to go that same distance.
Interesting. I haven't like everybody seems to suggest that battery tech, A, it'll hit cars first, so we'll see it coming, and then B, it's still, quite a ways out. You think it's sooner than that?
It's really I don't know how to say this without it's there if you want it. I'll leave it at that.
Okay.
If you're willing to do the work, it's there. You can do it. I don't think electric cars are the future.
Mhm.
It's going to be a hybrid. There's new synthetic fuels that zero emissions. I think the core of the automobile, if we get on that subject real quick, will be a hydrogen powered car. Tesla's changing all theirs to hydrogen with electric motors. That's the future.
And what's the patent number you have again that you're working on right now, real quick?
Yeah. Real quick, if we get this, and
Yeah.
it's one of those things when you see it on the bike and you play with it, you're like, holy shit, why hasn't someone done that? Right? It's one of those awe moments, I call it, or holy shit moments. So
Cool.
not to build it up too big, other than it is that's why I'm very interested in working in this project with a few others.
That definitely sounds like it's going to be interesting. I'm picturing motors mounted in hubs and whatnot. Who knows, eh?
Something
No, I'm
simpler
way
than
off
that.
base.
The
Okay.
goal in life is to make things as simple as you can be. Granted, life and human beings is very complex, and the more you can simplify things down, the better off you are. I believe that's my
Yeah,
opinion.
I agree. So Rob, other bikes in the industry, aside from Uno, who do you like out there? Who's doing good stuff that you're interested in, you're impressed with?
Well, Specialized, I mean, I'm a fairly fierce competitor, but I always respected what Specialized has done. And oddly enough, I live across the street from Syndicate. So we've been talking a lot in the last, well, not a lot, but we've talked a lot with more than we have in the last 20 years. And I've always respected what he's built. I might not agree with everything he's done, but he's always there. I mean, back to that vital survey, he's number one still. Very commendable to be. They started in '74, I think. Then they've been top dog now between us and them, shit, for 20 years. That's
Yeah.
a huge accomplishment.
Well, what is crazy though is that that Santa Cruz got there too, into that 1-2 spot, because back in
Yeah, and
my
there's mutual respect there from
Mhm.
Mike. So
Totally.
it's really it's been nice getting to know him a bit better.
I just remember, back in my bike shop days, Specialized has always been big as far as I've been in the bike industry. Obviously, maybe not on your side, but for me, Specialized has always been big, and
Yeah.
it has been interesting to see Santa Cruz go from an upstart brand to, yeah, really battling for top spot in a
Yeah.
lot of the categories.
Specializes, shit, they're I'm guessing I don't know the exact numbers, multi-billion-dollar company. That's probably the proudest accomplishment, is to be part of, the team we created to build Santa Cruz up to compete at that level. That's pretty cool.
Is
Yeah.
there anybody else that's impressing you these days? Yeah. Oh no, Specialized, obviously.
A lot of momentum right now. I'd say from Orbea.
Mhm.
Yeah, they seem
Mhm.
to kind of nailed it with their lighter version
The
e-bike.
rise. The
The ri-
rise is
yeah,
super
yeah.
interesting for sure.
Wait, around here, really kind of a factor when you start noticing, if you don't see competition, our competitors' bikes around on the trails, that doesn't mean they don't exist, but they're not doing well, because this area is one of the biggest mountain bike areas in the world. It kind of, there's a lot, obviously Specializes in Morgan Hill. There's a lot of energy from this Northern California in the mountain bike market. And if you don't see a brand, they don't, not that they don't exist, but at least in the US, and I'm seeing a lot of Orbeas all of a sudden. So they're doing really well.
They're a cool company too, like really different structure, and
Yeah. No, I'd say Orbea's got it going on. Transition, they've done a great job too. Those are the ones that come off the top of my head at this point.
You mentioned something just a few minutes earlier about keeping it simple, and then on the other hand, we have Specialized, who has seen like incredible success, and they've been growing into this massive thing. So I'm just wondering, your next project, is your goal to create something like something? Do you want to grow something that big as Santa Cruz has become, or is there a line like where you don't want a company to become that big? I guess.
Yeah, that's a good question. When I left, Santa Cruz was a pretty big company,
Yeah.
and now it's much bigger. The hardest thing in any business is managing people. So yeah, in a way, I don't really want to grow the company that big, but there's other ways to do things, licensing your patents or your ideas to other companies that get all the work, or have to do all the work, I should say. We have to do the work up front, obviously. You got to get the patents and do all that. But yeah, managing people is probably the hardest part of any business there is. And you can talk to any business owner, and I'm sure they'll all agree that's a pretty common thing.
I imagine you are riding some bikes these days. Are you riding that Uno? Is that your bike of choice these days?
Yeah, the Uno is what I'm riding currently. Um, Obviously, I want to keep trying out other bikes and seeing what's out there, and see how things are progressing, because that's what interests me. For me, the whole premise of Santa Cruz to start it was to build the best product we could build and let the product speak for itself. That's always been how my thought pattern works, and everybody that the team we built and the support we had around the company to build the best product we could. And personally, it always came down to what we want to ride. It's a selfish interest. So I want to continue that way. And, not everyone's going to like it. Everyone's got an opinion, more so than ever in this world. Yeah. It's like, the news. Yeah, it's kind of news, but it's more somebody's opinion of what's going on. There's an event, and then there's all these opinions of the event, right or wrong or whatever. So there's a lot of minutia out there.
We do love our lukewarm takes over here for sure.
Yes, that's what we're known for.
It's what we're built on.
All right, Rob. Thanks so much for your time. Both of us are looking forward to what you've got cooking. Let us know when we could see whatever it is that you're working on, because we'll be keeping an eye open for it.
Yeah, definitely be in touch. It's going to be some time yet, but we'll reach out to you guys for sure. Well, thanks a
All
lot,
right, Rob.
guys.
Thanks so much.
Appreciate it. Have a good one.